Let's see who is here. Don't know if we can see that. What is your favorite local restaurant that you like to go to up in Connecticut? Is there one that jumps to mind? Any good Greek spots or what?
There's a pretty good Greek spot near me. It's called Lantern Point Taverna, which is pretty good.
What's your order?
Lamb chops and lemon potatoes.
Yum.
Yeah, I love
Nice.
lamb. What about
Nice.
you?
There's a cool spot called La Bamba, right down the road that has like really good Cuban sandwiches and like cafe con leche and
Mm,
plantains. That's probably my go-to. That's where we can hit it up next time you're in town.
yeah, that sounds good. Hoping to come down in the next month or so.
Oh, sweet. All right. Well, I can't see. Gabby says we are live, so we will get started. Everybody, if you can hear us here in just about another minute and a half. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday here in June, and excited to hopefully add some value and get some feedback from folks on here. So, one more minute till showtime. So let me get my slides organized here, and I will share my screen. Pick that. And how are the slides looking?
Looking good.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, let's get ready to get started here. It's weird we can't see who's on or not. So if you're hearing us, welcome.
Oh,
Welcome to welcome to our webinar. So we're going to get started in about 60 or less seconds, and we are here to serve you guys. So we can't wait to hear your feedback and hopefully can have some sort of engagement on here. And if not, we'll make sure to have an open line of communication next time. So it looks like the countdown to 1 o'clock is underway here. So we'll get started as soon as the clock strikes one, and we'll be very prompt. I got my Diet Coke ready to rock. Just the right amount of caffeine.
I've got water for all my drinkers out there.
Nice. All right, it is 1 o'clock. So welcome everybody. If you can hear us clearly, we're grateful for you taking the time to join us. And it looks like there is some chat going on here. Let's see, where do we see the chat? Um, there it is. Hello. What's up, Eric? Welcome. Welcome, everybody. So, today we're going to be talking about the neighbor approach and a smarter way to do outreach. And I promise I'm not going to read off slides to you today. But before we get started, let's do some quick introductions. So, Maria, lead us off.
Hey everyone, I'm sure some of you know me, others may not, but my name is Maria and I am a CSM here at Resquared. I've been here for a little over a year now, just helping our customers get the most out of the platform, help build their warm pipeline. So I just to start off, just kind of want to break the ice a little bit and tell you guys my biggest pet peeve, which Tyler is really excited to hear. It's not that special, but my biggest pet peeve is lateness. So growing up, my dad, ex Marine, hammered into my head, if you're not early, you're late. So that's my biggest pet peeve. I want to pass the mic over to Tyler because I'm curious about his, but Tyler, feel free to take the mic.
Heck yeah. Well, excited to be here with you, Maria, and excited to get to spend some FaceTime not too long ago. And to everybody in the chat, if you have any pet peeves you want to share with us, throw it in the chat there. Mine is I don't know if a pet peeve is the right way of describing it, but I like to have the volume on an even number or a five. So like if I'm in the car and it's like 23, I'll move it up to 25 or down to 20 or 22, and even on TV, etc. So kind of a weird, kind of a pet peeve, I think, is having the volume not at that. But I love the Lombardi time and being on time. So chat, throw in there what your pet peeve is, and we'll do our best to not strike a chord there. But all kidding aside, we're here to serve you guys. We're grateful for you being a part of the Resquad and being our customers, and we're here to serve. And so today we're going to talk about the neighbor approach. So why are we here? Why are we talking about the neighbor approach? Well, the reality is, if you're on this call right now, I think this point will resonate with you. When you pull up your Outlook or your Gmail or whatever tool, maybe you're using AOL, throwing it back here, you are in savage mode when you're in email, right? Who's trying to sell you? Is it scam? Is it a phishing attack? What is going on here, right? And so you can tell instantly if an email was sent to 5 people or 5 million people, right? And it doesn't work, right? So the bottom line is that generic outreach just doesn't work. And there's lots of tricks out there in terms of different ways to mail merge things, et cetera. But I think we've really caught on to that, and so how the neighbor approach began here was when we first started the business. I did about 50 interviews with local business owners to help see through their eyes and hearing about different purchases they've made, et cetera. And one of the things that resonated with me was they would share a similar story, which was, hey, I own this sandwich shop, or specifically somebody that owned an empanada store, Mr. Empanadas down here in Tampa. And she would say, hey, tell me about somebody that I know that has worked with you, and I will talk to you all day long. Right. And so the idea here is how can we switch up our approach from, instead of just being generic and blasting and, screaming from the rooftops that they should buy our service, but instead leveraging the neighbor approach, which I'm going to describe now. And before we go, or after we go through that, we'll go through some examples. And then ideally, we can even do a live workshop with you guys and doing the neighbor approach. So how it works is start out by thinking about an existing customer. And with that existing customer, the key is, and as Resquared customers, all you got to do is type in the address of that existing customer. And what you're looking to do is be able to share that story in twofold. Why did that customer sign up with you? And what was their success? Right. So one example that comes to mind is maybe you do digital services of some sort, right? And you're working with the client. I'll share one quick example, and then we'll go through a more specific example, a couple with Maria here, where a gentleman named Sean was looking to sell chiropractors some marketing services behind SEO, some website creation, et cetera. And what he did was he reached out to one of his existing customers that were chiropractors and asked them, right, if somebody was, like, what would you say about our service, right? What would you say about working with us? And by inputting that quote in the email, he was able to go from barely getting any leads to getting leads and closing deals. And so the key with the neighbor approach is it's really two steps. Step one is getting the quote from the customer on the success they had, and also understanding the challenge they had, right? So for example, with SEO services, maybe it's they had used somebody previously but had trouble getting any customer support. Or maybe it's they had never done any SEO, but they wanted to, right? And so what you're going to want to do in Resquared is you're going to want to take the address of your existing customer, and depending on what you're selling, and we can go through a couple examples here in a second, you can shrink that radius down, right? So let's use the example if you serve restaurants. I drop the pin on Mr. Empanadas down here in Tampa, and I can hit up every other restaurant in a 2-mile radius, and I can share with them, hey, I'm working with your neighbor down the road, Maria, and we were able to help her increase her online sales, right? Check out this quote from Maria. So if you take away one thing from this, it's getting a quote from one of your customers and dropping the pin on that customer and hitting up similar customers in the area. So if you have any questions, throw it in the chat. We're going to keep rolling here, and Maria's going to share a couple real world examples, and then ideally we can even do some back and forth with you guys that have taken the time to watch this. So any questions on the neighbor approach so far? Getting a quote, dropping a pin on that existing customer, and hitting target customers in the area. Somebody throw a little something in the chat. Give me a smiley face or a yes, or any questions, and I'll go ahead and shift the mic here to Maria. Hey, Maria, you're still on mute. No worries.
Oh no, sorry guys. Okay, so just to give you guys a more of a hands-on example, one of my clients, Brendan, he's had really great success using this exact approach. So his initial templates weren't really garnering the responses he wanted to see. So together we created templates based on the neighbor approach. Within a week of sending those emails, Brandon let me know that he had 4 leads. So here's the email he sent me, which made my day. And it's just awesome. So going into a little bit of the structure of the emails, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what Tyler said, because I think the key piece here is the testimonial. Like, that is the gold of the email. But I like to start off the first email with kind of a 4-step process. So I'll start with acknowledging the problem. Like, what problem are these businesses faced with that we're reaching out to? Offer them a solution, acknowledge any hesitations they may have, reassure them, and then a very simple call to action. So in that call to action, instead of saying something like, can I send you more information? Make it something tangible that they can say yes to without having them commit to a meeting, which can be more of a big commitment, like to meet and to go over things. Just say, can I send you a video? Can I send you some more examples about some of my work? If you have a one pager, like a PDF, can I send you a PDF on, XYZ? Like that is really great. And that's an easier ask for them to say yes to versus a meeting, a call, something like that. Another helpful call to action, which is another one of my clients, Donald, he's had really great success taking a super personalized approach like this, and being emphasizing the local part as well. So his call to action focuses on I'm going to be in your area. Can we meet for a cup of coffee? So having that personal, like humanized touch point is super crucial and really stands out, especially in the world of AI right now. Everything is just so generic and robotic. So sounding like a actual human really pays off. Um, and then just going back to what Tyler said, that second email, again, being super crucial, is where you're just going to say, like, hey, I just wanted you to hear a little bit about what Tyler had to say about working with us. The entirety of that email is mainly going to be that quote gold, is what I like to say. And then that call to action is just like, how can we make this happen for you? So that is those are some real world examples and some success we've had. So Tyler.
Perfect examples, Maria. And I think to emphasize that neighbor approach where there's nobody else that can send that email, right? Nobody else can say, I've done this product or service for this customer, and no other product's going to make it easy. And you're already using the product. So let's get as much value as you can, out of it. With that all said, we are here to serve you guys, and we want to continue to create as much content and do everything we can to serve you guys. So if anybody is interested, throw a hello in the chat, and we can do a live workshop, or we can come up with a template on the fly with you, talk about how to get that set up, even explain how to set that up in Resquared. So if anybody wants to volunteer, just say me or whatever in the chat, and I'll send you a link to join Maria and I. And I think while we get people situated for that, we got a couple questions. And also, if you have any questions that you guys have, please feel free to share. So before we get into the workshop, is there anybody? Go ahead and throw in the chat me, and you don't even have to turn your camera on if you don't want to, but we'll do a live workshop. And I know we have a couple questions here that we can address in case we have any questions for one of the questions that I want to start with and pass this to you, Maria, is a lot of folks are thinking about, okay, what do I put in that subject line, right? Okay, I got my quote. What are some ideas of what I can put in the subject line? What would you speak to there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the subject line, we always want to focus on keeping it very short and sweet. If we're referring to the testimonial, something like listen to what Tyler has to say, that is really impactful because that opens up curiosity, right? So someone sees that and they're like, what's this about? And then you provide them with that quote gold, and that's what they're reading essentially. So that's my favorite one to use. I don't know about you, Tyler.
No, I think those are great examples. And I think talking about the area too, working with your neighbor, in downtown St. Pete's coffee shop, right? Because then they're going to read that, and less is more, but they're going to read that as, hey, this was sent to me. And Eric, thank you for the hello there earlier. I know we got one more question, Maria. Do you want to break down the question, and then we can see if anybody wants to volunteer for the workshop here?
Oh, yes. Let me pull up that question. Tyler, I think I lost that question.
So,
Apologies.
so I think the second question was, how to get a testimonial, right? And so just to speak to that, and I'll give you guys a little bonus. So just to reiterate what Maria had said, where one of the call to actions outside the subject line is, hey, I'm going to be, I live down the road from you, would love to shake your hand, or I'm going to be in downtown Jacksonville next week, would love to say hi, or I'm flying back to Maine, my hometown, would love to shake your hand. And so the best way to get a quote or a testimonial, I'm going to start with the testimonial and give you a little bonus on how to ask for a reference. And that is, when you sit down with a client, think about and maybe ask them, but figure out what are the main reasons why somebody would not buy your product or not buy your service, right? And the buzzword on that is objections, right? Because if you think about, looks like Frank wants to do the workshop. So Frank, we're going to get you on here here in a minute. So let me just quickly speak, and Colin. So we'll do this a little bit on the fly here, but just to quickly make this point on how to get a good quote is think about what the most common objection that you get when you're talking to potential customers. And we'll go ahead and get Frank and Colin online. Gabby, let me know if you need me to send them a link, or if you're able to do that, just throw that in the chat for me. But while we do that, so for example, with Resquare, one of the most common objections we get is the trust in the data, right? Because everybody's like, oh, well, how are you getting this data, et cetera? And hopefully you guys have all experienced, that we pride ourselves on the quality of our data, and have the best local business data. And so what I would do is I would ask to the client, I will speak to that here in a second here. I would ask the client, hey, hey Maria, if somebody was thinking about working with us at Resquared, but was skeptical about the data, what would you say to that person? Right? And they would say, oh, the data is fantastic. It's so interesting how even if you send it to a Gmail, it's still the owner on the other side. We actually have real quotes of that, right? And notice that kind of kills two birds with one stone, where one, we're able to figure out what the objection is. So it's like, hey, if you thought about selling to these local businesses but skeptical about the data quality, check out this quote from Maria. Right. And so you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. So I'm going to go ahead and put a link here in the chat. And so that way we're not just talking, examples and kind of hypotheticals. I'm putting in here. You're exactly right. The integrity of the data, garbage in is garbage out there, Eric. So I just tried to put in the chat, y'all, the ability to hop on. Now we're still, working out the kinks on the logistics here. So hopefully you guys can copy and paste that, and we'll just try to do one live web workshop here. And I'm just going to read Eric's question real quick. Can you walk us through an example of a search for clients, and how would you proceed to perform using Resquared? So I think if I'm understanding your question, one is think about all of your existing clients today, Eric, right? And maybe we can, get you on the stream here. Again, you got the link there. I think you guys just have to copy and paste it. And we can always do, some one-on-one calls with you guys as well, which will point you in the right direction there. You're going to want to take the address of that customer. So to use the example of a chiropractor, or maybe you've helped an auto repair store, right? You're going to type that in the search. So instead of typing a city in Resquared, you're going to type in the search, 123 Main Street, Tampa, Florida, 33609, right? Once you drop that pin, Eric, it's going to pull all the businesses in the area. And so you're going to shrink your radius down. And depending on if you can sell only to certain types of businesses, or you can sell to all types of businesses, you can then tweak the search from there. And then in the outreach, you can say in the here's who I'm targeting, surrounding chiropractors around this address. Here's the value that I offer, SEO and website specific for chiropractors. Here is my offer. Check out this quote from Maria on how we were able to help. So that would be maybe a little too quick, but the point is you drop the pin, you shrink your radius, so you're talking about that neighborhood, right? And then you specify if it's all the businesses or a certain type of business. And then using the sequence, you're going to put in the information around, hey, neighbors around blank. Here's what I do, et cetera. So Eric, appreciate you taking the time to comment there. And it looks like Frank and Colin wanted to, have access here as well. So hopefully you guys can see this link. Maybe put in the chat if you're having any trouble with that. And hopefully we can get Frank or Colin to say what's up. So we'll give a second here on the logistics. And thank you guys so much for taking the time to join us here. And hopefully we can get another real world example in a second. Let's see. Send a message. So it looks like this is just the YouTube audience. Chat. Appreciate the example. My pleasure, Eric. And Eric, while we try to figure out with Frank and Colin, who raised their hand as well, maybe you could just share a little bit about, who's your target customer? Do you have any example customers that come to mind? And then if we're not able to get you guys on the call itself, we can reach out to you guys independently and make sure to get you the custom messaging here. And that's the beauty of this is nobody can send the emails you can send, right? And no product's going to make it easier. And so this is your dojo, if you will. But Eric, any other follow-up questions, or happy to kind of do a bit more of an example through the chat if that's helpful. So give Eric 1 second here. I know you guys, everybody's busy, and getting after things. So Maria, do you want to share the best way for everybody to get the support they need here? You're on mute again. No worries.
I apologize, guys. You would think I do this for a living. I Zoom calls every day. I appreciate all of your time. If you need any support, you can reach out to our support team, human at re2.ai, for any general questions. And then you can reach out to your dedicated customer success manager. So we can help with just kind of getting hands on with creating emails and just assist you guys with anything you need.
Awesome. So Eric, I'll speak to your question there, but if anybody, needs to jump, we appreciate you going out of your way to talk to us, and Colin and Frank, we will hunt you guys down and see if we can help connect the dots there. It looks like we're having some trouble with the logistics there, so no big deal. And with you, Eric, I think the question, and we can take this, asynchronous here, is with you being a former Subway franchisee, who was actually a customer of mine in a past life here. I think the question for you is, do you have any existing customers today? Because the neighbor approach relies on existing customers, being able to tell the story around that existing customer. And if you don't have any existing customers, then you can kind of use like a part of the neighbor approach where targeting businesses in your geography, right? I want to say you're in Texas. I think the name rings a bell, but I'm not 100% sure. That's just kind of a shot in the dark. So what I would recommend is reaching out to businesses close around you. And I think there's also some really good materials around how to position your offer to solve a problem if you don't have any existing customers today. But we're going to end the webinar right now. This is exclusive for you guys as customers. So we're grateful for you. We're both here to serve you. So make sure to reach out to your CSM, hit up human at re2.ai, and there is a human on the other line. We'll make sure you get to talk to the right person. And Colin and Frank will make sure to do a follow up. And I hope everybody has a beautiful day.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. See you.